Hey, welcome, queens and kings, to the NBR Show. I'm your host, Natasha B. Russell, aka NBR, and today's topic is living the dream. And I'm so excited. I met a really nice gentleman on LinkedIn, Stan Peake, and I read his story and it was so powerful. And I was like, I have to reach out to this guy and see if he wants to join me today. And he's here today, so in a few minutes he's going to join me. But before I jump to that, I want to share a little bit about what's happening in the NBR world. So for those of you out there joining me, again, welcome, boss queens, boss kings. I hope you're all doing well. I hope everybody's in good spirits and you woke up feeling grateful. Gratitude is key. The fact that we woke up today in our right sound mind, that we're breathing, that we're living, that we're able to even use our handheld devices is a blessing. So let's continue to focus on the positive. And I strongly believe the more we focus on the positive in our lives, the more we're going to attract. So I do have some upcoming events happening. One in October, at the late October, Strategist for Your Success. Stay tuned for that. I also have the third annual Ladies Boss Up Seminar that's going to be happening November 20th and 21st. We got a great lineup of speakers. Day 1, it's all about creating that vision. Day 2, we're going to be doing all strategy. So stay tuned for more details on that. And what else can I say? For those of you who don't know me, again, my name is Natasha B. Russell. What do? Who am I? I am the founder and CEO of NBR Strategic Solutions, and we offer coaching, speaking, and consulting services to support you in achieving your goals and your dreams. And how do we do that? There's a variety of coaching techniques that I use. I'm really big on confidence, mindset, strategic planning, right? We got to plan to succeed. We have to have the right mindset to believe we can actually achieve the goal. We got to have confidence because confidence is critical to your success. And we got to create healthy habits because usually how we do one thing is how we do everything. So I'm really big on that. And then I also host events, for men and women to empower you to achieve your goals and your dreams. And last but not least, on the consulting side, I'm all about strategy. Again, strategy. What's your strategy? Are you a business owner? Do you want to start your own business? What's the strategy to help you achieve your goals and your dreams? And then I have a beautiful team that will help you bring that strategy to fruition. So without further ado, today, like I said, we have a great guest, Stan Peake. His bio is extensive, Stan. So I may just allow you to introduce yourself to the guest who will be joining us. But just a little sneak peek. I'm going to read the first paragraph, or maybe two, about Stan. Stan Peake is the founder, and he's also an executive coach at Insight Performance Coaching. Entrepreneur by nature, coach by trade, catalyst by approach. Stan Peake lives to help value-based leaders discover and live up to their potential faster than they could ever on their own. Love it. With entrepreneurial expertise spanning 7 businesses, yes, people, 7 businesses in 5 industries, over 20 years, and 21 years of leadership and executive management experience, Stan gets business and he gets entrepreneurs. He is master certified. He's a master certified executive coach. And he's also certified by John Mattone, Steve Jobs' former executive coach. I didn't know that. Love it, Stan. Love it. And last but not least, he's also he's certified in cultural transformation tools and has over 65 tools that he uses to help create awareness, change, and results in leaders and teams. So without further ado, hello.
Hello. How are you, my friend?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. You can see me okay?
I can. Your camera is a little bit moving, but are you holding with your hand or is it on a
I am. Yeah, I'm wondering if there's a better solution, but we'll
Oh,
do it. We'll do what we can here.
I'll try not to keep you too long, but at least you'll be working those biceps in the meantime, right?
There you go. Exactly.
Well, welcome, Stan, to the NBR Show. I'm so excited to have you. As I mentioned to the guests and those who are going to be tuning in, that I came across your profile on LinkedIn and I read your story. Now, this man has a story, people. He's been through a lot of challenges, but that hasn't stopped him. And that's what gravitated me towards you. It's like, here's a man who's sharing his story openly, honestly, candidly on LinkedIn, which for those of you who don't probably know, or who hopefully you do, it's a professional network. And I was just really inspired. So I'm glad that you joined me today, and I'm looking forward to learning more about you and, of course, our audience to be able to learn what you do, and let's talk about living the dream, people, because we only get one life, right? So let's make it count.
Amen to that, sister. And thank you so much for having me on. I just find you so inspiring, and I love what you do for entrepreneurs and leaders. And so, yeah, together, let's do this. Let's show everyone out there as much value as we can in the time we have together.
Absolutely love it. So my first question that I always ask is, who are you? Who's Stan Peake?
Great question. And I've actually thought about this a lot, so I can answer with a lot of clarity. I'm a catalyst towards other people's growth. That's who I am. And that's been with me all around. Like I had to figure that out. Obviously, it took some time, but I really do live to help lift other people towards their potential. That's what I do in my personal life. That's what I do in my professional life. So my job title might be executive coach, but
Mm-hmm.
that's really what I do. I loved helping people find what's in them that's great and helping amplify and grow that any way I can.
Love it. Love it. And that's the thing, right? Which is what we connect on is we're big on transforming lives from the inside out. And if you're in business, it affects your business too, right? I used to, I think I mentioned this to you when we chatted that I went from saving energy or helping people save energy, which is great. But how powerful is it to be able to save a life? To inspire someone to actually believe in themselves, their talents, their abilities, and then to, like you say, amplify it and take their life to the next level. So people, if you have questions for Stan while he's here, feel free to put in the QA section, and I'll be sure to help guide them along so that he gets to them before we end this session. But love it, Stan. So I always like to ask a little bit, on the funny side, when you're not working, I know a lot of what you do personally, professionally is helping people see the greatness in them, and then of course magnifying that. But what would you say is a funny fact about you that maybe your family or friends don't really know?
Well, one thing my family, especially my wife and son, definitely know is that when I'm not coaching people, I'm either the king of dad jokes or I will use any excuse whatsoever to dress up. And so like, we're actually planning a dinner where we're having a few friends over, and it'll be October. So why not get the lederhosen and all that kind of fun stuff out? We had a golf weekend recently with a few friends, and I decided to go there as Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue. So just, not always appropriate in a coaching setting, but like you said, you get one life. And so while it's so important to pursue your dreams, you can't be working all the time. And one thing that you and I both have talked about before, as well as entrepreneurial guilt. It's very easy as an entrepreneur to feel like you have to be working all the time because you easily could be, and
Yeah.
you're never done as an entrepreneur. But that's even more reason to shut it off, even if you got a lot of work to do. Get out there, reconnect with friends and family. And well, for me, every now and then it's good to be a jackass, even if it means just dressing up a little bit.
I love it. I love it. I think that is important. It is true. As an entrepreneur, we can work 24/7 if we really wanted to. And that's why I'm so big on my calendar. Like, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. And I create my life around my calendar. So at this time, 5 p.m., I'm shutting down, whether I don't care what it is. Like, it's time for family, it's time for fun, it's time to relax. And once you're more intentional, I find, about your time, you value it so much more, and who you spend it with and what you do with it, right? So I love that. You still gotta have fun, people. Enjoy it, but have a little bit of fun in the midst of everything. Because again, life is a gift, and it is short. We're not here forever, unfortunately. So let's talk about who or what inspires you. Like, I know I mentioned when I met you and we had that talk, like we could have probably talked for hours. I was like, you just remind me, and this, we're all individuals. I don't like to compare people, but the energy, the optimism was like that Tony Robbins vibe is what I got. And I was like, this guy is like, literally, I've been to Tony Robbins. I love the energy in the room. And when I met you, Stan, like, that's the energy you brought. And we were virtual. And I can't imagine what it's going to be like when we actually meet in person at some point in time. So who or what inspires you to do what you do every day? I'm curious.
First of all, that's very high praise because obviously Tony Robbins is one of, if not the best in the world at what he does. So very kind praise. And I find you pretty damn inspiring too. So that means a lot coming from you.
Aw, thank
Um, no, absolutely. But you're right. Inspiration is very important because we can't always manufacture inspiration on our own. My mentor inspires me every time I talk to him, and I make a point of talking to my mentor on the phone every single Friday. And in fact, now we've recently gone back into business together, so I talk to him a lot more frequently. His name is Matt Young, by the way. He's out in Vancouver and just a very inspiring and extremely driven guy. Other coaches inspire me. John Mattone, we mentioned, Tony Robbins, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, all inspire me in different ways by their approach. Marshall Goldsmith, by the way, who was the #1 executive coach in the world 3 years in a row, just has now gotten to the place where he's giving away all of his systems for free. He wants to empower other coaches. If anyone else out there is a coach that's watching this, look at Marshall's 100, and he's inspired 100 coaches, teaching them everything he knows, so they go on and teach another 100. And I guess lastly, entrepreneurs inspire me. It takes risk, and I mean it when I say live in the dream. Some people say that like, oh, live in the dream when they're working a job they hate on a Monday. We are living the dream, but it can be a nightmare sometimes. And so entrepreneurs inspire me. I don't care if they are creating widgets, as long as they're passionate and they refuse to quit. Entrepreneurs inspire me, which is why I do what I do to help businesses grow.
Absolutely. I love it. It's true. And I think sometimes people think that as an entrepreneur or living the dream means different things to different people, right? But there's a lot of people I know that are in their 9 to 5 and they hate it, but it pays the bills. And there's so many things they'd love to be doing right now, but they're afraid. Fear will hold you back. Mindset, depending on your thoughts, will tell you all the reasons why it may not work out. And then if you have what I call those negative Nancys or haters around you who are going to say, hey, what are you, crazy? Like, what do you mean you want to leave your day job and start your own business? Entrepreneurship is not for everyone because, yes, like you said, you have to be willing to take risks and you have to not give up on the dream. That's why I talk so much about, like, when I work with my clients, whether it's corporate or individual, is the first question is, what's the vision? What's that big grandiose vision? What are we working toward achieving? What is the end result in mind? So that when you feel like giving up, and I'll tell you, I've had times when I started, I'm like, what am I doing? Am I on the right path? Like, what is going on, Then I can remind myself, like, hey, this is the vision. This is why I do what I do. And then it's like, it gives me the momentum to continue. And when you go at it with that mindset, people, I'm telling you, doors will open. One, because mindset, you're setting yourself up for success. And two, like you just said, Stan, you're not going to give up because you know that this is what you want to be doing. So you've done a lot of businesses on your own and you've grown businesses and sold them. And now you have this new practice. Why don't you tell people a little bit about some of the challenges, like you're just, that you've been through as an entrepreneur? You're very successful, but let's talk about the stuff that's not so pleasant that we don't normally do.
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually really happy to chat about that because I don't think enough entrepreneurs do. I think that we have this, whether it's from a self-conscious place or maybe we only want to market our successes, we want to look more successful than we are. Far too few entrepreneurs are willing, in my opinion, to be raw and real about the not so great parts. Because what everybody knows in the back of their mind, though, by the way, is that any true success has failed. And because in my opinion, first of all, success and failure are not opposites. Failure is a critical, essential part of success because unfortunately, that's what we need to do to learn. But that being said, getting right into it, oh gosh, my first failure in entrepreneurism was waiting too long to start this business. And this was my third business. I had started my own business when I was 21, too young and naive to know what I was even doing, because back when I was 21, entrepreneurism didn't have the same sort of, I guess, glamour attached to it. When I was 21, if you were an entrepreneur, you were just crazy. Now you might be cool and crazy to be an entrepreneur, but that's what a couple decades will do. But yeah, I told myself I had these limiting beliefs and this story in my head that I couldn't afford to start this business. I had a job that was paying good, the bills, but I was miserable. And it was a great job. It was a great company. I love everyone there. that's still there. But the day-to-day job that I had, I no longer had purpose. You nailed it. It's so important to have a purpose that's bigger than yourself, that inspires you and just compels you to action. And I didn't have that. So I had to rediscover it. And then eventually I had to just pull the trigger and do this. So I was so excited, over the moon. And then 3 months after I left my last job, I broke my back in a mountain biking accident.
Oh my
So,
God.
yeah, that didn't help because my savings were dwindling. I had to wear a back brace that was like this for 3 months.
Oh my God.
So I couldn't shoulder check, which meant I couldn't drive.
Oh my.
And any entrepreneur knows how important networking is to growing their business,
Mm-hmm.
especially in a place like Calgary, which is a mix of big city and small town. So that was huge. Every financial challenge you can imagine, hearing no or hearing nothing at all, all essential. There's times I absolutely needed to nail new business and got rejected. You name it. I remember telling a story though, while I was still wearing my back brace, and about overcoming adversity and how important it was to have that purpose that was too important to quit. And I'll never forget, there was a girl in the audience. This was back in 2015, 2016, when the economy in Alberta wasn't doing so hot, kind of like it is now.
Right?
And there was a bunch of job seekers, and I was trying to help them with transferable skills and overcoming adversity. And I had someone pull me aside who had been looking for a job for a year, and she was battling cancer.
Oh my gosh.
And she was talking about how I inspired her. I'm like, no, 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 sister, other way around. If you can be at this seminar and looking for a job with a smile on your face and gratitude in your heart while you're battling cancer, what the heck's my excuse? And so, as much as I've overcome adversity, I've also been inspired by a lot of other people who refuse to give up. I should also mention quickly that about a year and a half ago, I had a heart attack. So there's been a fair amount of adversity
Oh
while
my
building
gosh,
this.
Jan. Really?
Yeah. Oh, and then COVID, which kicked everyone in the ass as far as our revenue. But happy to report that because what we do helps people, in the last few months, it's picked back up. But you name it. I really think that COVID was just the latest crisis. And anyone who's about to start your business, please, the last thing I want you to do is take all those as reasons not to start your business.
Yeah.
I want to make sure you realize that crisis and adversity are coming. They are. They are for everybody. But as an entrepreneur, it puts you face to face with challenges that will help you learn and grow faster. And they do that in ways that I hate to say it because the world needs way more employees. But as an employee, you have the ability to shut off at night, and you deserve the ability to shut off at night. But my first few months in business, I made $0. The month I broke my back, I made $275. The economics and the challenges force you to learn fast or
Mm-hmm.
fold up the shop. So realize you're going to go into crisis, but that's why what you do has to matter to you so much that you refuse to quit.
Oh my gosh. There's so much I want to like chime in on there. I know when you said like heart attack, I'm like, I'm not smiling. I'm like in shock. Like, this is me. But like, okay, whoa, let me unpack some of what you just said. Woo! Okay. I want to, obviously, Natasha, I see your comments, she says, God, he's inspiring me to get out of my blue funk, right?
Awesome.
There's a comment that came up that says, raw and real. Yes. Dr. Kangon, well said. Now I want to touch on some of these things. Like you said, all these things you've been through, Stan. You've broken your back literally after you just started your business. You've gone through a heart attack. Oh my God, I'm so glad you're still here.
Thank
And
you.
you've been through a lot of challenges financially, but that's never stopped you to build and to keep living the dream, right? Now I talk about purpose, and it's heavily in everything you do because, like you said, if you're going into business, and I honestly turn some people away because I'm very, I have a process in who I work with because it's my time too. It's my investment, right? I got to make sure we're a good fit. And if someone's coming to me just to say, hey, and I've had that, I just want to make a lot of money. Okay, well, why? When you make all the money, then what? Because we know there's a lot of celebrities out there, for example, who are filthy rich, let's say monetarily, but are so empty inside because they're not fulfilled. And so you see people
Yes.
committing suicide, highly depressed, and you're looking at them and wondering, what's wrong? Like, you have all the money in the bank, you can buy whatever you want. I don't get it. And that's what's lacking people is purpose. And that's why I speak about this highly every time is that we all have one. And the greatest thing, Stan, is that, and I'm sure you know, it's different. Everybody has a different gift, a different talent, a different ability. And then when you go into business, if you can maximize it and it's transactional, then you have a business, which is great. So find what you love, people. Be fulfilled. If you're in a career that you're not enjoying, that's draining the life out of you, draining your energy, I want you to know that there's hope by looking within first and saying, hey, what do I really want? Now, two, how am I going to get it? The strategy. And you talked about mentorship. I have a mentor too. I believe everybody should have a mentor, somebody that you admire, someone that can keep your momentum going when you're having those tough times, someone that can share fresh ideas, new insights, someone that can challenge you. We all need a mentor. If you want to be successful, and I say success means different things to different people, it's not just monetary, right? It's being fulfilled. Then you need to have someone in your corner that can hold you to your standards, hold you to your value. Now, what else I want to say? You talked about being raw and real, Stan. Isn't that the truth? I find now more than ever, authenticity is everything. In storytelling, your brand, like I used to never share like my upbringing, like, you know, having that rare form of epilepsy, having low self-esteem, you know, lack of confidence, because I felt ashamed in the beginning, right? But then I realized that that was my power. Like, hey, if I stood at that child and that didn't believe in myself, if I didn't then began to believe that I had a purpose and that I was fearfully made at 11 and start feeding my mind to believe that, there's no way I would have been where I'd be where I'm today. There's no way I would have had the jobs that I did, which were really great paying. Like you mentioned, those 6-figure salaried careers, the stock options, and you love the people, but you hate going to work every day because you're like, this is not fulfilling, but I'm doing it anyway. But when you can find the love that you love your life in business, and then of course be fulfilled, and then maximize that on monetary too, I feel like then you're living the dream, you know, because you have all the parts to the puzzle. And why wouldn't we all want that? If that's for you, entrepreneurship, again, you got to be willing to take risks. So, okay, I went on a little tangent there, Stan, and there's so many other things I could say, but you are an inspiration. And that's why I said instantly when I heard your story, I connected, because I think a lot of times we don't want to share the challenges. We don't want to talk about the hard stuff. Like when I started my business, like you, I don't think I made money for the first 6 months because I was trying to market to everybody. And I knew the
Right.
rule. I knew it, but I was like, oh, I can help everybody. No. And I wasted thousands of dollars marketing, wasting dollars. But then I knew I had to get super specific. And I remember one day when I came home, I was like, God, this maybe just not for me. And I was just literally praying. And then the phone rang and I got my first corporate client. I was like, yes, okay, I'm on the right track. So people out there, just like Stan was saying, we have no excuses. That lady that was in the, you know, that came out to that event had cancer, has been without a job for a year. There's no excuse when it comes to living your dream. And may it be your dream, nobody else's. I think that's what we forget sometimes. We're chasing success according to what other people think success looks like, or my friend has this, or whatever. Make sure you define success for yourself. Okay, any questions for Stan? We'll bring them in as we're chatting. You can tell I'm passionate about this stuff. We got two coaches in the room, right, that are passionate about changing lives. So now on the flip side, Stan, we talked about some of the challenges. What are some of the successes, the rewarding stuff that you love most about being an entrepreneur and helping executives all over to achieve their goals?
Oh, it's a great question, and it actually brings me to something I wanted to mention about living the dream as you were speaking, because I think a lot of people can relate to your story or mine about not being happy and struggling and going through a hard time, and then when they hear that you've built a successful business, they're like, "What was the moment? What was the moment, and what happened between?" And so, to answer your question and bring up, I think, an important point that a lot of people might be making a mistake in the process, one of the most rewarding parts of my job is helping people to understand what's inside of them and therefore, you know, where they can go from there. When you talk about purpose, a lot of people, I think, have this idea that they're going to get struck by lightning and figure it out, and it's rarely the case. So in my experience, purpose comes from two places. So one is purpose comes from pain. And if that's the case, then if you think about what is the misery you've gone through, and no, I'm not a therapist. Yes, I'm a certified and trained coach, but I'm not a therapist. So, but this is not a therapy exercise. This is an exercise to try to draw wisdom from our challenges. If you've gone through a bunch of really tough times in your life, but we're able to reflect on them, some things we might be able to figure out is what are the new wisdom or skills or advice that I now have because I went through those tough times. Take it a step further, right? Are there other people that you can help now, maybe as a coach like you or I, maybe in a different capacity, but instead of looking at our adversity as something to get past, something to survive, actually our adversity a lot of times can be crucibles to help us forge our greatest skills and to help us discover our purpose. The other pathway is our greatest joy. And I'm not talking about the birth of your children or your wedding day, but I'm talking about the moments when you've been the most alive, alive with every fiber of your being. And maybe it's because you are now stumbling upon what could be a purpose. Maybe you are getting on stage and doing public speaking. Maybe you were in an active service where you were leading a group of troubled teens on a camping adventure. Whatever it is, but the highest joy where you're in alignment with your skills, talents, and things that matter to you, or when you reflect back on your pain, those are two ways that may inform your purpose. And I just want to bring that back to the whole I'm struggling, how do I get to where Natasha is? It's not getting struck by lightning, it's an inward journey. Don't wait for an external event. Through reflection and understanding, that's where most people get to a place where they go, this is what I think. And then test it. When I started my business, I started coaching people for free to see if I liked it, and I loved it, to see if I was any good at it, and to see if I could help. And from there, of course, started a business. But there's things everybody who's listening today can take some action, big or small, to move closer towards discovering their purpose and building the life of their dreams. You don't have to have already started a business. You don't ever have to start a business. You could be happier with volunteering. You could be happier with things you're doing outside of, your 9 to 5 that you're not, loving. Everybody could do something today to move closer to being happier.
I love it. I got chills. Okay. I agree with everything you just said. And that's it. I always say to someone when you're talking about their purpose, like, what do you enjoy doing? What would you do even for free? Even if you weren't getting paid for it? What brings you joy, right? And like you said, what are some of the things you've been through, like that you've learned from, that you can now help other people? Maybe you were bullied when you were younger. Maybe you had low confidence, low self-esteem, maybe whatever. Maybe that is your inward journey to find out what your purpose is. But people, pay attention and you'll know, because it fulfills you. Like every time I get off a coaching session, Stan, I'm like, I feel alive. I feel fulfilled just to hear my clients say, thank you, Natasha. Oh my gosh, these are my ahas from today. These are my action steps. These are what I'm going to do next. Like that fulfills me. And I can't put a price on it. Of course you got it for business, right? But it's a price that I say it's you can't even put a monetary dollar on how you feel when you discovered your purpose. Because when you do it, people, you're fulfilled. You feel great by doing it. It's not something that, oh my God, I got to get up and do this again. It's like, oh my God, I can't wait to get up and do this again. So I love what you said. It's not a lightning struck, people. It's not like that, but you'll figure it out. You'll know. So pain and joy, what does that look like? We have a question, Stan. So let's see. What are some, from Lavishly Naturals, what are some techniques that you do to improve your business outlooks, especially when business gets stagnant? Great question. I'll let you take it, Stan.
Yeah, that is a great question. And the first thing I would say is you got to be able to review. If I take people on a bit of a walk, they can see that I've got a dashboard there. And I think it's important to measure everything. So not only revenue, but opportunities. In my business, we already mentioned this, networking is important. So I actually measure how often am I networking. COVID happens. I had to learn, find online networking opportunities. So, but one other thing really is growth. Are you selling new products? Are you acquiring new customers? If you want to get into really deep metrics, is the customer lifetime value of the customers you have growing, or transactional value per spend, depending if you're retail or in the service side of the business. But what's really important is to identify, like you said, what does success look like? It's different for every person. It's different for every business. Some people's success is, seeing their friends on Friday and hanging out with their family on the weekend and then grinding through the week. And if that's what success means to them, to your point, it should go in the calendar and they should know that they're hitting that more often than not. For other people, and for a lot of entrepreneurs, success equals freedom.
Yes.
Right? That's ultimate success. So that might mean, can I work from anywhere? That might mean, am I finding ways to automate and systemize my business so I'm not working 80 hours a week? Regardless, any outcome that you aspire to, we have to define, and then we have to reverse engineer how to get there. And so a great question, because it actually speaks to the process. And the process is we have to look at our business, understand our business, because, by the way, I'm a big believer that everybody's business is trying to teach them. Your business is trying to teach you. My business is trying to teach me. So now it's, how fast can we learn, right? I have a dog, and I believe that all dogs are smart. It's just that, are we smart at learning from our dogs? Because it's poor leadership if I just yell at my dog because he doesn't know how to sit, right? Mm-hmm. Am I speaking in a way that my dog will learn? Because my dog wants to learn. If I don't bend my approach, that's poor teaching. That's not poor learning. And it's the same thing as an entrepreneur. If we can't be too fixed-minded on how we're going to go about our journey. I think you have to be married to your vision, but you should only date your strategy. You have to be willing to pivot and learn and change approaches, but never give up on the goal.
Love it. I fully endorse everything Stan just said. Even when you talk about, what I heard you talk about the analogy with the dog, it's clear communication too, right?
Exactly.
Who you're marketing to your customers. Do they get what you do? Do they get the value of your product or your service? Because a lot of times I think even, you're an executive coach, we work with people who have, degrees and, masters. You sometimes feel like you have to talk on that level. No, keep your messaging simple. Who are you marketing to? Make sure it's very concise, clear, that people get it. And the thing now is, there's so much out there. Like, you put a post on Instagram, it's gone in a second. So it is social media. So make sure that your marketing is intentional, that it's straight to the point, lavishly. Make sure you're married to the vision, like Stan said. I love that. And sometimes, yes, you got to change the strategy, but never give up on the goal. Great question. Okay, so going to my next point, Stan, what some business advice would you give, or some tips around helping entrepreneurs out there? We talked about never giving up. Giving up is never an option. It's just finding a different way, a different strategy if need be. Defining your goals, being clear about what you want to see. What does success mean to you? And I like what you said. Yes, entrepreneurship for me is freedom. Like yesterday, I put my daughter to bed and I was like, isn't it so nice that I don't have a boss that tells me I got to be here at this time, that I can create my calendar. And that's the gift of entrepreneurship for me, is one, that I'm honestly fulfilling my purpose. I love what I do, and I would do it without getting paid for it. That's how much I love it. But I got to get paid because it's a business, people, and I have to take care of myself and my little one. But secondly, the ability to create my life around things that are important to me. And as entrepreneurs, we get to do that every day. So, yes, talk about success tips, or maybe I'll ask you first before you answer that, Stan. What does success mean to you?
Yeah, no, I'll answer both of those. What does success mean to me, and some tips. Success means to me that I have a family who loves me and the freedom to pursue my dreams. Mm-hmm. And those things are balanced, because if I'm too busy pursuing my dreams and I don't have time to show up as a dad or as a husband, then I know my balance is off. And by the way, my balance is off for most people because I work a lot. Actually, and it was a good wake-up call, because I know I pick up my son every day after school, or most days. Sometimes I have to get my wife too because I'm too busy. But I picked him up after school on a Friday, and then I, let him in the garage, and I was going back down. I said, "You go back to work?" I said, "Yep." He goes, "Busy man." My son said, he goes, "Dad, there's 168 hours in a week, and I bet you spend at least 70 of them working." And I was like, "Oh."
Ouch.
Now, the fact is, I've taken the hockey. We have a lot of fun together. We have a lot of adventures, and I'm proud that he sees an example of hard work and chasing your dreams. But I do have to be cognizant of that. So my own definition of success, I want everyone to know, I miss the mark a lot. There's lots of times I don't hit my revenue targets. Lots of times I don't hit my life balance targets. But for me, it's all related to, am I pursuing my dream? Am I helping others? And am I surrounded by a family that loves me? And I would say that family extends to friends. I see Curtis Woodley just joined. Great to see you, brother. And he is definitely a brother from another mother, and
Yeah.
someone I had the pleasure of working with for a number of years. So your family extends beyond the people you have direct, the actual, DNA ties to, in my books anyway. Going back to the advice thing, whether you're in a leadership position, whether you want to be in a leadership position, or you want to start your own business, you have to be a leader. Even if you're a solopreneur, you still have to lead yourself. And
Yes.
to me, all leadership starts with self-awareness. And the root of good entrepreneurship starts with self-awareness, because I'm not Elon Musk. I'm not. I told you before that one of the biggest mistakes I made was waiting so long to join this, to start this business. One of the reasons is because I had a misconception on what entrepreneurism is. You mentioned it. I've owned or co-owned 7 businesses. And even it took me until starting my third business before I even considered myself an entrepreneur, because I thought I had to invent something. And I'm not the guy that's going to come up with Uber or, Netflix or whatever. But you could be a great entrepreneur and not be able to invent anything. And another mistake to that, I would say, is there's a lot of great entrepreneurs that aren't going to start a business because they don't think they're entrepreneurs. And I would challenge that to say that just because you own a business doesn't make you an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is, to me, that's a way of thinking. That's someone
Yes.
who, right? It's someone who
Yes.
challenges the status quo, who says, why are we doing things this way? So someone might work for someone else for 50 years and be a great entrepreneur in their thinking. So my advice is self-awareness. What are the skills I bring to the table, and what are the skills I don't bring to the table? Are there any skills that I need to start this venture that I don't have? Well, if that's the case, you need an employee or a business partner. So that self-awareness still allows you to know what you contribute to the business and how you can help it thrive, and what your limitations are because of what skills or aptitudes you don't have. But that's how you build your team. And hire smarter people. I really, I'm a big believer in hiring smarter people. And that's not cliche. That doesn't mean I'm the dumbest person in the company, right? That
Yes.
means I hire people that are smarter than me at certain aspects, and they should run those aspects. The person who runs our marketing is better and smarter at marketing than I am. That's how it's supposed to work. Long
100%.
ramble, but
No,
yeah.
all good, all good. I'm taking stuff from this too, and I can relate. Like, on the strategic, the consulting side, when I started out, because everybody's like, "Oh, well, that's your background, communications and PR. That's all you should do." But I'm like, I left corporate because that's not really what all I want to do. I want to focus on coaching and speaking. But somehow, every time I had a coach or a mentor, sometimes they pigeonhole me back into that. Focus on there. And it was draining to do that. And I was doing a lot of things like media releases, press kits, all of that, writing. I'm like, I know I'm good at it, but I don't enjoy it. So then I start outsourcing it and focus on what I love, the strategy part. And oh my gosh, I remember having a call with my one of my mentors, and we had like this session where she was like speaking to my mind and speaking to my heart. And I just got so much clarity around, well, why are you doing it? Let it go. Just let it go. So sometimes people, especially in business, I love what you just said around self-awareness, is focusing on what you're good at and outsourcing the rest, or partnering with somebody who can meet you to meet that need, that you don't have to be it all or do it all. And I think sometimes in entrepreneurship is that, for me, I think of it as like you talked about being a thinker. I'm always thinking about ideas and things I want to do. And I love that about me. But then I have to caution myself on, Natasha, one thing at a time. Like, don't
Right.
overwhelm yourself. Because sometimes, like, we do too much. You talk about that balance. Like, my little girl, there was that time when I was like in the beginning too. I was always on my phone, like gotta check emails, like gotta get back to people, da 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 da. And she'd be like, "Mommy, you're always on your phone," and it hurt me when she said that.
Yeah.
So I was like, "I'm doing this for you. Like, I want you to know that I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for me." And then I had like a reality check. I'm like, "Okay, Natasha," and that's when the calendar really came into play.
Yeah.
Like everything that is so important to me goes in here. And then once my day is done, I don't care what it is. I'm not looking at my phone. It's downtime. It's intentional playtime. Whether we're cooking together, we're playing Monopoly, whatever. But it's being able to put those distractions aside and be intentional with those time. And our little ones, I forgot how old your son is, but my daughter is 7. But they have such a good memory. They remember everything.
Oh God,
Right?
yes, I know. My son's 12. Trust me. If I ever want to remember all the mistakes I made, I'll just get in front of my wife and kid. They'll remember.
So it's so important, people, in life of entrepreneurs to have balance, work-life balance.
Yeah.
And really the key is, I just say every day, what needs to get done today? What is critical? Then everything else, I plan it out. Okay, for the week. You don't have to do everything today. Some things can wait till tomorrow. And more importantly, I always say this, life is about creating beautiful memories, people. We can have all
Yes.
the money in the world, but if we have no one to enjoy it with, to spend it with, then what do we really have? And again, your health is your wealth. So I have a comment from Lavishly Natural. My son said that last night. It is definitely a wake-up call as a small business owner, right? You have to be prepared to, yes, put in the work, but work smarter, not harder. I hear a lot of people say work harder. I'm like, no, work smarter. Like, you have X amount of hours, we all get the same amount of hours. How can I be more strategic with my time? Whether it be outsourcing to people certain things, whatever that may look like. What do I do best? Maximizing that and letting other things go. And then my biggest thing that I've been honoring, and I said this is for month of October and going forward, is if it drains my energy, I'm letting it go. Period. If it drains
Bingo.
my energy, I'm letting it go. I don't care what it is or who it is. If when we come into contact, if I feel worse after chatting with you then I know I shouldn't be in that circle.
Yeah.
And same thing in business. If there's things I'm doing that can make a lot of money, but I don't enjoy it, then I'm either outsourcing if it makes sense with the business, or I'm just completely letting it go. So great points there, Stan. Work-life balance, very important. Health is wealth. Yes, from Dr. King Nong. I hope I said
Well, I
that right.
just want to jump on that one too, because it's also things that don't drain you. It takes the self-awareness to realize that sometimes our passion can lead us to work 12, 16 hours a day. And we already talked about this. You're never done as an entrepreneur. So you need to find a way to leave some gas in the tank so that you can do it again tomorrow, but also that we don't forget to live the life we want to live. Because if we're building this business to be a better parent, to create opportunities for our family, well, those are gone if 10 years go by and we don't even recognize our kids and they don't even know who we are.
Right?
So we need to be present, even if we are broke, need to find a way to make money right now. You know, we'll always, as an entrepreneur, if you're working those kind of hours and you're passionate and you're working hard and working smart, you'll always figure it out. But what we won't be able to figure out is how to get that time back with our kids. And I know I'm having to remind myself of that lots, working those 70-hour weeks as well. But there's lots of times I do interrupt urgent work to make sure that I have a moment with my son, even if it's playing Lego or reading a comic he wrote or whatever. Because, hey, I can always open the laptop when he goes to bed and, lose an hour of sleep here, an hour of sleep there. We got to find a way to be present for our loved ones and be present for ourselves, even if there's work to do. Shut the laptop, go to bed, live to fight another day.
Absolutely. Like, I have this thing where I'm just like in my head, not right now, Natasha. Like, some of my ideas come to me late at night. I'm like, girl, go to bed. Not
Yes,
right
I
now.
know.
Right? Just put it away. Put
It's
away
hard
the
to quiet
phone.
the mind. Oh,
I'm like, not right now, tomorrow. But then I'll just jot it down quickly in my notebook and I'll say, okay, part A tomorrow,
yes.
day, right? So as we're wrapping up, is there anything else you want to say around what you do, what you want to give incentive, inspiration, or motivation to people out there who are going to watch this later around the dream, living the dream? Anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Love to. First of all, I want because this is about our audience, right? Not about you and me. So I want to make sure that everyone watching this does one thing, make one commitment to take one action, big or small, to move your life forward. If that is reflect on my pain, reflect on my joy to discover my purpose. If that is, think of ideas for my business. If that is, create a micro business to test whether or not entrepreneurship is for me. I challenge everyone that is listening to take one act, big or small, to move their lives forward and to commit to that act inside the next hour. They don't have to tell us, but I say you got to take action when you're in the state of motivation that you were. The worst thing someone can do is listen to you, listen to me, get all fired up, and then go back to their everyday life. So even if they write it down, make a promise right now on something you're going to do to improve your life and or the life of someone else. Don't watch a podcast or a show this inspiring and then just go turn the TV on. Take an action and do it now. That's the last thing I would say. And if we're not connected on social, I'd love to. Ways that I can share this, support your initiatives, the initiatives of those people that were kind enough to join us, all for it. I mean, you and I both know that we are in the service of others. That's what matters most. We'll find a way to get paid, but the service comes first. The salary comes second.
I love it. Do you hear that, people? Okay, I still have one more question for you before we sign off.
Yeah.
Do you hear that, people? One thing right now, it's so true. How many times have you been to an event, like even a Tony Robbins or whatever, that you're like, everybody's pumped up, right? And you're like, yes, yes, yes. And then you leave, and that momentum will potentially leave with you, right? Because you're not in that energy, that realm of all these people that are walking around shouting so excited. Now is the time. I love that. Now is the time to get that paper out and say, I'm going to do X, Y, Z within the hour, like Stan said. Write it down, commit to it, and not for anybody else, but for you. Knowing that you are worthy of it, you deserve it. And I always say that if your mind can conceive it, then you better believe it can achieve it. But a lot of times what we don't move forward is out of fear. The mind telling us all these lies. Well, I'm not good enough. What if I fail? I honestly believe failure only exists when you give up. So for those of you who are out there who are watching, and I love what Dan said, I would love to support you. I'm big on that in any way we can to help you achieve that. Let us know. But it takes you to move forward. It takes you to write that down. It takes you to say, hey, I want to do this. We can only give you all this information, and then you have to be the one that leads with it. Just being the leader of your life, the leader of your business, whatever that might look like. So great points, Stan. And before we wrap up, my last question, because I'm big on quotes, and if you didn't know, now you know. I love positive inspiration. I have quotes all over that keep me fueled and motivated. What is your favorite quote or thing that you refer to daily potentially that keeps you inspired? Do you have one?
Yeah, absolutely. One is, I'll give you a couple. One is my own, and then another one is really a couple that I live by. So my own, as it relates to what we talked about, is once you find your purpose, you lose your ability to quit. That's one that I've always lived by.
Okay.
And a couple of quotes that really inspire me. Lexington James once said that the helping hand you are looking for is usually at the end of your own arm. And most people, underrepresent or underestimate what they can achieve and the strength within them. So I think that's always huge. And the other one that I love, which is super long, is What It Takes to Be Number One by Vince Lombardi. I won't rehash the whole thing. And you don't have to believe in football, like football. You could hate football, and there's still wisdom from that. I'll just say the last bit, that any person's greatest achievement is when they've worked their heart out in a great cause and they lie exhausted on their field of battle victorious. if you found a way to end on empty and you've worked your guts out and your soul is exhausted, but you have done service for others, that to me, there's very hard to find a higher purpose and a higher, kind of alignment with how God created us. So those are a couple of quotes that I live by. And hey, I love it. I think quotes can move us, but what's really, really important is that we move us. So
Yeah.
make sure you take Natasha and I up on that challenge. Commit to action in the next hour, and you'll see results. That we promise.
Virtual high five. Woohoo!
Virtual high five, absolutely.
Oh, this was lovely having you, Stan. Oh my gosh, I'm looking forward to finally meeting you when we do set up at the end of October for coffee.
Amen.
Right? I'm so committed. If you want to put what your goal is, people, feel free in the comment section. If you have any last minute questions for Stan before we let him go, feel free to get it in quickly. But Stan, I just want to say that, my gosh, like, you are such a blessing. I'm so grateful for you and for joining me today. I even learned a lot of stuff in our chat today, and you continue to motivate me to be my best and give my best to others, right? And when we think about our purpose, people, again, I just want to remind you out there that we all have something special within us, and it's up to us really to look within. A lot of times we think about transformation, it comes from within. It's not something that's just going to strike you over your head and outwardly. It comes from within, and then you see that reflecting outwardly. So no matter how big the goal is or how small it is, if you want it, I believe you can have it, but you have to believe it to receive it. So Stan, as we sign off today, again, you're amazing, but you already knew that. Wishing you again continued success in your business. We probably need to do something together. I don't even know what
Yeah,
that
we
looks
do. I
like.
know. Scheming. Scheming.
We're gonna have to do something together. Imagine two of us in a room, like powerhouses. It's gonna
Oh,
be a
yeah.
thing, and see that here comes the idea. Like, I
Love it.
already have it's starting to fuel. So now I'm writing it down because I'm gonna email it to you and tell you what I'm thinking, and we can make it happen, because that's how
Love
great
it.
come to fruition, right? People think about it, write it down. Now we got to take the strategy and act on it. All right. How do people find you? Last but not least, Stan, your Instagram, your LinkedIn. Like, how do people connect with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn, I'd say I'm most active. You had to tell me how to join the Instagram Live, so that's new learning for today. Thank you. Um, I am active on Instagram, and probably the most likely place that people could see me dressing up like a jackass, like we talked about. I share a lot of free content on LinkedIn. That's my goal: is educate, inspire, give people value for free. 20 times as often as I ever say this is for sale or whatever. So LinkedIn is probably the place that people will get the most value. Or Insight, spelled INSITE, performance coaching. They could email me directly, stan@insightperformancecoaching.com. We are going to jazz up our tired old website, and really just appreciate everyone for joining, and really look forward to hearing what our collab effort's going to be there, Natasha.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited. And I'm pretty sure you're going to want to do it together, because
Sweet.
I
Oh,
just.
I'm already in. You inspire me. I'm in.
Are you in? Okay,
There
you
you
heard
go.
that, people. So stay tuned for more details. I don't like to talk about things until I actually put them in action, but I see an opportunity for us to work together, and I'm excited about it. Okay.
Sweet.
Thank you guys for spending the last hour with us. Again, Stan, you're amazing. Keep doing the amazing work that you're doing. More of us out there who are helping others realize their purpose, take action on their greatness. Honestly, I believe the better this world is going to be. Less suicide, less depression, less anxiety, less all of these horrible things that are happening in this world. So I'm grateful for you. Thank you to all you people out there watching. We're going to say bye to Stan. You got a lot of praise, Stan, a lot of love, a lot of hearts that on your end. But thank you for again joining me, and we'll talk soon.
I love it. Grateful for you, Natasha. Thank you so much, and grateful to everyone that joined. Appreciate it, everybody.
All right. Adios, amigo.